everyone, and welcome back to another storytime video. And today I am going to retell a story that I told, I think it was a long time. So long ago, in fact, that I believe I recorded block and load gameplay and narrated over that. And I have not played a block and load match since 2018. At least since 2019, but I believe 2018. Regardless, it's been a while since I've told the story, so let's get into it. So, I learned how to drive on a stick shift. Almost entirely on a stick shift. Now, to get the feel of being behind the wheel and just being out on the road, I did drive an automatic for that little bit of time, but once my dad felt like I was comfortable with that, then I then started to learn on a stick. Primarily a 4-speed where where it was super easy and super forgiving. Like, I've driven quite a few manual transmission cars, and that car in particular was a really good car to learn on. And so I was able to have some success and build up my confidence in terms of being able to drive and drive a stick too, because just because you know how to drive doesn't mean you know how to drive a manual. I'm looking at a lot of people under the age of 30. If you can drive one, then I'm not looking at you. Well, if you're under the age of 30 and you can drive one, I'm not looking at you. Like 95% of the people under 30, I'm looking at you in terms of two completely different things, and you all should know that. But I have driven a manual far more than I have an automatic in my life. And, you know, I had to have a lot of patience and a lot of training in order to really master driving a manual. And all it takes is just practice, and you might grind the gears once or twice at first. But ultimately, if you can... Now, I'm sure plenty of you have heard this line. If you can drive a manual, you can drive practically anything. Now, I have not driven 3 on the tree, or the even more rare 4 on the tree. I have not yet, but I haven't driven a 6-speed either. But I remember when I was first starting out, it was so early on that I was still driving an automatic that I thought that I was going to hit every single mailbox with my passenger mirror. Like, just because you have experience being in a car and practicing being aware of everything that's going on around you, needless to say, it is entirely different going from being a passenger to being a driver. Because as a passenger, you can, like, miss one or two things that you're not exactly aware of and be totally fine, and nobody is put in danger. But when you're the driver and you start to miss a lot of things that you're not aware of, like looking as far ahead as you can, looking on the sides, just looking behind you as well in your rearview mirror, to see what's behind you. Just being aware of all that. I mean, as a passenger, you might not have access to knowing what's behind you, what's in the blind spot, and all that, but you can at least practice looking as far ahead as possible and looking on the sides to see if anything's gonna happen. Like you don't know if somebody that's perhaps mowing their grass is gonna just... I mean, you have no idea if their riding mower is gonna malfunction and they're not gonna stop it, or whatever the case might be. Or maybe they're going down a hill, or I don't know. But yeah, I got my learner's permit when I was 16, and I got my license when I was 20. Yes, I was a bit behind in terms of getting my license, but I, interestingly enough, never drove to high school. I always took the bus, even though I could have driven myself to school. I mean, I drove myself to work every day while I was in high school, so it's not like I didn't have the ability to. I just said, hey, bus will drive by and pick me up. Well, I basically said, hey, bus will drive by regardless of whether she's going to pick me up or not, and it's not out of the way for her to pick me up at all. So I thought, why not? It'll save me a little bit of stress in the morning. Not that getting up and getting ready is stressful, but if you can kind of take as much risk out of it as possible, then that's great. But I don't know, I just didn't feel like driving to school besides that, what I said. So, I mean, even as a junior and a senior, when I had my learner's permit, I could drive to school. I just didn't. To be honest, I didn't start to regularly drive until I did have a job, because I could take the bus everywhere to school, and so I didn't start to really get good at driving until I was like 19, 20. And I would like to think of myself as a pretty decent driver. But I started to... I knew how to drive a stick, and I was driving a stick instead of an automatic when I turned... I remember driving a manual at 17. I do remember that. I remember driving a manual at 17 everywhere I went. But yeah, it just took a lot of practice, and especially to drive a stick. Because there's just more to it. And I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, people under the 95% of people under 30. But part of the reason why stick shifts here in America, anyway, in Europe they're still prominent, and it makes me really happy to see whenever I go to countries like Spain, Italy, Germany, what have you. But here in America, people are just lazy, and they don't want to have to use their right hand or use their left foot. But I'll tell you, if there ever comes a time, which I assume this quietly already happens, but if there comes a time where the bigger auto manufacturers in this country want texting and driving to stop, make more manuals. I mean, I'm to the point where I drive with one hand on the wheel so regularly that if I don't, I don't really have to do anything with my right hand if I'm driving an automatic. My right hand is basically just doing nothing. Like, if I drove an automatic right now, you could chop my arm off from my shoulder, and I would be perfectly fine. The only major things, well, they're kind of minor, but the only things that I would have trouble with is starting the car and my seatbelt. But I could easily grab with my left hand and buckle up and start the car with my left hand. It's not that difficult. But, yeah. Not that I think it would ever happen, but I kind of wish that more cars on the road, especially here in America. Europe is far better at it, by the way, which they have a lot of 6-speeds over there, and I wouldn't mind doing a 6-speed. I would love a 6-speed. But regardless, I just don't think we'll see a whole lot more manual transmission cars on the road here in America anymore. Apparently, you have to special order manual transmission cars in this country. And that's kind of sad, man. It shouldn't have to be like that. But it is. And it's a shame. But regardless, that will do it for me today. And see us, guys. I do believe that will do it for this storytime video. And select storytime video. I will see you later. Goodbye, guys. Thank you all for watching.